Hi, I'm Phil, and this is my first video documenting my first and second week while I was on Mounjaro. If you've not seen the intro video, I'll leave a link in the description below. But basically, I've been on Mounjaro now for 4 months, and I'm going to go back over and document what it was like to take the jab, what I experienced, how I felt, side effects, the reactions I had to it, how it made me feel, what it did to my body, what it did to my thinking, and obviously what impact it had on the scales and did I lose weight and what did I lose if I did. To do this, I'll need to go back to the 13th of November last year. I was stood in my kitchen with a quick pen ready to inject. I was stood there and I'm not going to lie, I was terrified. I was shaking, I was nervous, I was pulse was racing, heart was racing. I did generally have a little sweat on. It was a combination of what I was about to do, which was inject a needle into myself on my own for the first time, which was worrying enough. But it was also the thinking about what what might happen. I'd seen so many horror stories. I was excited. Don't get me wrong. I really was excited to start this. But at the same time, I'd seen so many horror stories that that there was people losing weight, but the amount of scared and horror stories out there seem to outweigh the positives. For example, I'd just seen that morning on a daytime TV show here in the UK that they had two ladies on and both had bad experiences. Now, there was when they dig deeper into the story, one of them went around to a friend's house, took their first ever jab at 10 milligrams. Now, for anyone who's taken Mounjaro or weight loss drugs, you'll know you're meant to start on 2.5 milligrams, and as you have for consultations and the potency starts wearing off, you're meant to increase in 2.5 milligram dosages. So you'll go 2.5, 5 milligrams, 7.5 milligrams, so on, all the way up to 15 milligrams. This lady hadn't done that, obviously had a bad reaction. It was too much too soon for her. The other lady, I think, if memory serves right, she didn't really need to be on. She didn't need to lose that much weight, and I don't think she was eating properly, and therefore was having some implications on that. I was stood there in the kitchen alone though, and you say alone, my partner didn't want to be involved because she was against me taking the jabs. And to coincide with that, there had been just a story that week in the UK press where a poor nurse, I think she was in Scotland, had passed away with complications linked to Mounjaro. I think she had underlying health issues, but it impacted her, and in in some way. Um, I've got some notes in front of me in case you wonder why I'm keep going reaching forward for my laptop. But the lady had passed away, unfortunately, and my partner was really against me taking the jab, and she had obviously worries about me and my health. So anyway, I'm back in the kitchen. It's the 13th of November last year, and it's around 11:30 p.m. I've got the pen in my hand. I've done everything I was told to. I checked the airball. I checked the syringe was working. The needle was working. There was no blockages. A drop or two had come out when I'd done a test, and I was ready to inject. And then everything started flashing through my mind. The side effects. I've been told there could be nausea, diarrhea, constipation, headaches, allergic reactions, all the way up to pancreatitis, which is a life-threatening problem. Um, and I was ready and I was excited and I had to just build up the courage to do that first injection. So you can inject in multiple areas. I decided I was going to go on my left-hand side of my stomach. So I grabbed a wad of fat and I got the pen ready, primed it, and I injected. And I stood there and I waited. I'm not sure what I was waiting for. I think in my mind I was thinking, is there going to be an instant allergic reaction? I'm going to collapse on the floor. Am I going to need an ambulance? I'm going to vomit. I probably should have known there was probably not going to be, unless there was an allergic reaction, there was probably not going to be anything that happened in truth. And that's what did happen. Nothing happened. I had this weird cold sensation, which I think was more psychological and my mind playing tricks on me. Where I felt like a cold chill run up from the injection site. But I know that really didn't happen. It was probably just my mind playing tricks on me. And then I thought, well, a few minutes passed. I got a small glass of water. I locked the house up and I went to bed. So I woke the next morning, and I've covered this briefly in the intro video. I woke with no hunger pains. Now that I didn't always wake with hunger pains, but I was a late night snacker. I did eat late, so therefore I did quite often wake up with hunger pains. This occasion I didn't. I thought, small win to start with. And I lay there, and then the fears started creeping back in. I lay there mainly because I was waiting for some dizziness or a headache or nausea, but there was nothing. So I give it a few minutes, sat up, again, expecting a wave of nausea or dizziness, and again, there was nothing. I decided to brave standing up, waiting for the same again, and nothing. And this gave me a small little boost to think, maybe I'm going to be okay. Maybe I'm not going to have anything straight away, and that was the case for that morning. I started to feel a little bit more confidence as the morning went on, as I went and got a shower. I got dressed for work. I said goodbye to everyone in the house, and I left and walked down to get the train, thinking if anything's going to happen, it'll start kicking in, excuse me, around now. Um, but nothing happened. I got on a short train journey to work. I picked up a couple of bits of food from the shop, which I'll go into shortly, and I headed into the office. That was it. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Didn't feel any difference, except for when I did go into the shop to pick up some bits of food for the rest of the day. And I've heard people call this food noise. I'll try and explain best what I mean by this. As I was in the shop, normally I'd be looking at the sweets, crisps, things like that, cakes, pastries for breakfast. There was no thought to go and pick any of them up. I didn't think, oh, I'll grab a croissant, or I'll grab a pain au chocolat, or I'll get some crisp for later, or chocolate for later. None of that was in my brain. Not that I always thought it, but more majority of the time, 9 times out of 10, I would walk in the shop, pick something up for later, or pick something up for now, and that just wasn't there. And I thought that was a good sign, a good start, and it had gone. Um, I headed into the office, as I said, sat down, got a black coffee, which was the first thing I'd ate or drank that day. Drank the coffee with a bit of trepidation, thinking, is this going to come straight back up? It never. I drank the coffee, it was fine, no side effects again then. It then got to around 11 a.m. and I thought, I need to eat something. I wasn't hungry, I had no desire to eat, I wasn't put off the thought of food, I just had no wish to eat. But I knew I had to. And as I said earlier, I'd stopped at the shop that morning to pick up a couple of things. I picked up a banana, an apple. I picked up a little pot of hummus with carrot sticks in, and a couple of boiled eggs. The reason I picked up those things I'll come to in a moment. But I started with the banana, and that was the first thing I ate while I was on Mounjaro. And as I ate it, I was expecting, I don't know, my body to have a reaction, to maybe feel a bit sick, or to have to force the food down, but it was just like eating as normal. There was nothing out of place. Everything was fine. I managed to eat the full banana. Didn't feel any different. Didn't feel anything more full than I would from eating a banana. But I ate it anyway, and then I didn't think any more about food. During the next hour, I did actually think about, am I going to be sick? Am I going to be okay? And that did distract me for most of that morning. It got to around 1 p.m. I thought, again, I'm going to have to eat. I'm not hungry, but I'd gone into this knowing not to be stupid about it, not to not eat, not to not fuel my body. I'm not by any means well versed in the human anatomy and biology and everything that we need, but I know we need fuel in our body to function, and we have to provide a fuel to do daily things. I was providing my far too much fuel, and hence the reason I was so overweight. So I got around 1 p.m. and I decided to eat the carrot sticks and hummus. And again, exactly the same as banana, no issues, no problems. I did feel a little bit more full on this occasion, as in I knew I'd ate something. I knew my stomach felt more full. And I'm guessing that was the Mounjaro kicking in to tell me that I didn't need to eat anymore, doing what it should do. But yeah, that seemed to work, and that's basically how the first day went. I then didn't eat anything else for the rest of the day. I stuck to plenty of water, which you're advised to do. I drank around 1.5 litres of water, maybe, during the day. I kept on drinking black coffee, which is what I drank anyway, so I don't have any sweeteners, nothing in it, just pure black coffee, or plain black coffee, should I say, and the day went absolutely fine. There was no side effects that I was aware of that first day. There was nothing I was concerned about. My worries eased as the day wore on, and that was basically how the first day went. Up until my evening meal, which I'll just touch back on roughly. If anyone's not aware, when you're on Mounjaro or Wegovy or Ozempic or anything like that, they give you a list of what you should and shouldn't eat. For me, it was pretty straightforward. They just recommend you eat healthily. They say to eat things like lean protein. I'm not entirely sure what they are. Fruit, veg, whole grains, and healthy fats is the main top level description of what you should eat. For me, I decided I was going to stick to things like fruits, vegetables anyway. And I did make one change. So for my evening meal, I swapped out my normal rice to whole grain rice. And this was dead easy. I got the 2-minute microwave rice packet of that, around 400 calories in each packet. And I had a whole pack of whole grain rice. I put a tiny sprinkle of soy sauce over the top. I got a fresh chicken breast. I sliced it up. I put it in the air fryer for around 12 minutes, took it out, and I had just that with Tabasco sauce on top. It was boring, it was plain, and I managed to eat about 2/3 of it. I couldn't finish the final third. That was the first point I thought, this is working. This is having an impact on my body and my mentality around food. It was the first time I thought I can actually notice or feel something different, which obviously gave me a massive boost going into bed that night and looking forward to the follow-up day. So this kind of continued for the next several days. Just to touch on what I did eat for those weeks, I stuck to breakfast of fruit or zero fat yogurt. I had similar lunches as I mentioned before. I had 2 boiled eggs with some salt on, some carrot sticks with hummus. It was really, really low calories. For tea, I stuck to the whole grain chicken with the chicken breast done in the air fryer and maybe some hot sauce on top. That was it. I stuck to that. I was probably way under calories, but the main side effect I've had Mounjaro, and I seem to be lucky in this case, I believe it is meant to increase your energy levels and things like that, and it's meant to keep that balanced so you don't feel fatigued or anything like that. But for me, it seemed to really flip the other way. It gave me a lot of energy. I really did feel like I had enough energy to keep me going all day, late until night. Didn't feel tired. There was one other thing which let me know when I wasn't eating enough, and I'd yawn. I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel fatigued. I didn't feel like I didn't have any energy. I felt fantastic, to be honest. But I'd yawn. And that was my body's way, I think, of letting me know that, I've not ate enough and I need to go and get some fuel to keep my body going. And every time I would start yawning, I'd go and either grab a coffee and maybe some fruit, or if it was lunchtime, I'd grab some carrot sticks, some hummus, fat-free yogurts, things like that. And I would give that to me, and within 5-10 minutes, the yawns were gone, and I carry on with the day. Obviously, as the week wore on, this made me extremely excited and extremely happy. I genuinely couldn't believe how well this was working for me. I couldn't believe it was doing everything it said it was going to. I couldn't believe the lack of interest in food. I couldn't believe I wasn't craving chocolate, sweets, crisps, even fizzy drinks. Sodas. As I didn't crave any of them. It really was a great start to my Mounjaro journey. I fueled myself correctly, probably only having around 12 to 1400 calories, which I know is not much for a 40-odd-year-old man weighing nearly 20 stone, but I didn't feel any side effects from that. And I thought, while it's working the way it is, I'll continue to do what I'm doing. And then if I see anything or anything changes for the worse, I'll address it and I'll change that. I didn't need to. And this went on for the first and the second week, and I felt fantastic. I really did. I was sleeping brilliantly. I was not thinking about food. It gave me more time and energy. I was doing things I probably normally wouldn't. I had more energy for playing with the kids. I wasn't slumping at my desk in work. I genuinely felt fantastic. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to have the same journey. I'm not saying that everyone's going to feel the boost in energy I did. I've got friends and people I know who are on Mounjaro and they didn't get this boost and they were really jealous. So, don't go into this thinking you're going to take it and feel fantastic and everything will be amazing. You'll be full of energy. You know, you won't have any problems. You won't have any side effects. I know someone who's had nausea. I know someone who's vomited a couple of times. I know someone who's had diarrhea, been constipated the same couple of days. I know people are really fatigued. I just seem to have been lucky. I don't know whether that was because I'd stopped drinking as well. I'd give up alcohol the month before as part of a way of trying to get fit. So maybe that tied in for me. They hadn't given up alcohol. So I'm hoping that was the case, that it just timed perfectly with the lack of alcohol and, you know, the thought of fueling my body correctly. I know some people went a day or two without eating. I tried to give them advice that even before I was on it, that's probably not good for them. I maintained 2 to 3 meals a day. I'd sometimes skip breakfast, if I'm being honest, but I'd have fruit as a brunch, and then I would make sure I put fuel in at dinner time, at lunchtime. Plenty of water. Drank plenty and plenty of water, and black coffees is what I drank anyway. Maybe that helped fuel the energy. So what did this do overall for weight loss? On screen now, you can see a picture of me the night I took my first jab, which was the 13th of November last year. I took the jab, and at the end of the first week, I had gone from 19 stone, 10 pounds, or 276 pound, 125 kilos roughly, down to 19 stone dead. That's 266 pound, or around 120.5 kilos. So a loss of 10 pounds. Now, I was ecstatic. I was gobsmacked. You know, I didn't expect that much of a loss, but then also at the same time, I do know with any weight loss through to doing many fad diets over the years, you can lose quite a lot of water, and obviously other things, other waste in your body over the first week or so of a diet. So ecstatic as I was, I'd seen similar results with other fad diets in the past, things like intermittent fasting. So delighted as I was, I carried on into week 2, took the next jab that night on the 20th of November. And from then till the 27th, everything carried on pretty much the same as it did in the first week, with no side effects, nothing like that. Same food, same diet, everything. And from then I went from 19 stone to 18 stone, 4 pounds, 266 pound, or 116 kilos there or thereabout. Another 10 pound loss. This one did shock me. I was amazed the second week I'd lost another 10 pound. You know, 20 pound in total over 2 weeks. Again, I know the first week could have been a lot of waste and fluids and things like that. But 20 pound, you know, not far off. Was it a stone and a half? I was amazed. This was the point. I thought, I will be sticking to this. I will be maintaining this. It's gonna hopefully change my life. And I was ready to fully invest in Mounjaro and what it was going to do and bring to me. It was more than I'd ever seen in any other fad diet. You know, I knew I wasn't eating enough calories, but I wasn't having any bad side effects. I knew I wasn't feeling tired. I've done other things where, you know, you lose some weight, but you feel awful from it. You know, that you know it's not going to be maintainable. This, I thought, this is going to be maintainable. And that's what we're going to pick up in the next video. We're going to do weeks 3 and 4. That is going to be an interesting one because I went to Disneyland Paris for a few days with the family during that one. I'll let you know how that went. I have got things I can pass on from experiencing the holiday there and how I managed to cope with that and how it went. And we'll obviously address the weight loss during that time. But I just want to say a big thank you. If you enjoyed all this video, make sure you please do like and subscribe. With it being a new channel, it's really hard for people to find the videos on YouTube, and the more people like it, the more subscriptions I get, the quicker it'll get out there for people to see, and I'll be able to share my journey with them as well. For those who have commented on the previous intro video, thank you. I really appreciate it. Some of you have shared some really interesting stuff already. I'll answer any questions I can in the comments, but if you have got any questions for the next video you'd like me to cover specifically, I can, you know, pick up on things. And people ask me things in the comments about how do you get without prescription. I think I explained that, but I can do it on the next video as well, while we cover the Disneyland trip and weeks 3 or 4 in Mounjaro. But for now, again, I really do appreciate it. Thank you. And again, sounds cheesy, but please do like and subscribe. And thank you for your attention and interest in me. Thank you.